Hello my brothers and sisters of the Order, welcome back to the Order. I'm Celtic Templar, and welcome back to another how-to video. This time we are covering Combrogi, or in this case in Welsh, relating to fellow countrymen. Now, what are the Combrogi? Well, the best way I could put it is that they are a levy of sorts. Now, many of you are going to ask, Templar, a levy? These guys are a levy? Who cares about a levy? Well, actually, if you put it in the history books, these levymen were, by far, pretty much mostly like that of a militia unit. They were pretty much summoned up from the fields and farms of Britain. Pretty much these were, well, Combrogi, fellow countrymen. Now, upon reading much information about them, there is mixed information. People say that these guys wore fabulous mail armor that was handed down to them. Other accounts stated that they were merely naked on the battlefield, which is a poetic term stating that they were lightly armored. I would have to believe they were mostly lightly armored, knowing to the fact that one, they could barely even afford a sword, because there are some accounts that stated that they had swords, but I don't believe this one. Now, if y'all remember my video on the Teolu started to look more and more like the Combrogi and would command the Combrogi that would be from their local villages. In other words, a Teolu would come by and say, "Hey, we're at war, get your arms and armor ready." And Combrogi would answer. Now, the Combrogi were just that. They were levy, they were militia, they were pretty much from the very fields and farms throughout Britain. And the, well, Welsh, Briton, whatever you want to pronounce them as, they would actually call on them in dire needs. In other words, say for example, the Saxons are invading. Hey, we need to actually prepare for war. So, they would prepare for war. Their equipment was very light and effective. In fact, one Welsh monk by the name of Briton actually wrote in the Abbey of St. Martha that actually stated on the fact that these men marched lightly armored like David facing off against Goliath. So that's saying something. In fact, there is also some historical pictorial evidence in some churches in Wales today that does show the Combrogi. However, the helmet I'm wearing is of the early period, and this helmet only lasted for about a century. before they would later switch to something more like this. Now, this style helmet is of the more common style they would have worn, though a lot of times they would have not worn helmets. Now, as y'all saw, I was wearing a form of late Roman style helmet, which only lasted about a century before their helmets started to look more like this. Their helmets started to have less artwork on them, they started to lose the cheek guards, they started to lose the back plates. However, a lot of times though, they could actually, if they could actually keep the cheek plates, but a lot of times it later evolved with a nasal helmet. So, yeah. Now these foot soldiers were of light military units. And it's said that they would mostly be recruited when it came to the time when they were farming. So, guess what they would mostly wear? Now, before anyone starts saying, oh, they were wearing nothing underneath, no, they were actually wearing trousers. These trousers end up, or shorts, whatever you pronounce them as, these styles of clothing had various lengths and sizes, from above the knee to below the knee. So, in fact, some accounts I heard that apparently it was as low as apparently around my shin area. And the reason being for it is, one, they are working on their fields and their farms. So you need something, especially when it comes down to the fact that, one, if they're going to be working in the muddy terrain and such, they're probably not going to be wearing footwear. So, yeah, this is actually the perfect way to avoid muddy clothing. Now, though, a lot of y'all are going to ask, oh, but Templar, what about their footwear? Well, their footwear they did wear, but a lot of times I have read that they didn't wear, because to get a better grip on the terrain of the field of battle. Which makes sense, because one, if we know one thing from history, even the Irish did this in their countryside. In fact, even up until the 1800s. In fact, when it came to walking around in Ireland, it was very hard to walk through the muddy, boggy terrain with the footwear they had at the time. So yeah. As well, their equipment and weapons vary from user to user. I have heard that they used war clubs, but honestly, there's not much evidence I can go on. But from what I can tell, they had javelins and regular spears most of the time. As well, if they could, they would also use axes of different varieties, from a hatchet size like this model here to something a little more meant for a lumberjack to use. So, why would they use the different variations of axes? Well, quite simple. If they were on the field of battle and they had to pick a farming implement tool, they were going to use it. Now, of course, they would also use daggers. Daggers were, though, a different variation in size, so I can't put in general of the general size it would have been, so yeah. As well, their shields. Their shields would have mostly been made out of a round shield with rawhide reinforcement and with such. That's about it. As well, though, it's also stated that they would carry the blankets upon their shoulders. And when I think about that, I think of it looking like a cloak. In other words, they would, when they were not engaged in battle and they were marching, for example, guess what? This thing will pretty much be a perfect cloak, but it's also a blanket for the harsh weather. And that actually does feel pretty good. Although I am in the middle of Texas summer, so that's going to probably be a bad idea. But another accounts I have also read also states that these men might have also used slings, as there are accounts of them having rope-like belts made out of twine or some sort of fabric around their waist. But there is very little pictorial evidence, so I can't go that far. But anyways, guys, let's get right into the video, shall we?
Victorious, victorialus, Erastus, necessitas. Horarius, despondeo. Spiritus Abdomio. Patriarcha Gladiator. Afflictio Divinitas salutara.
Now, as y'all saw, I'm not feeling any fatigue in this equipment, except for the Texas heat it is. But with this equipment on, I don't feel the heat or the construction of the mail or any type of armor. In other words, it's not being stuck with the heat being stuck inside between my clothes. Now though, since I'm wearing layers, it's probably going to get a little hot and a little sweaty. In fact, I had to remove the cloak a couple of times because holy hell, it is not the best for when you're fighting, because when you're going to sweat. As well, pretty much in the later periods, most of the Combrogi started to lose their helmets entirely. Because one, since these are Levy units, you can see why. Now, as I said, there is very little information on them, but the Combrogi are kind of one of my favorite Levy men so far. Because one, these guys are pretty light and effective. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that I'm not wearing elongated pants and such, and with leggings, I'd probably be sweating a lot more. Because, one, these actually give good airflow, actually. Now, one major thing I can also recommend y'all to understand is that one, these guys were light equipped militia. They were not your everyday foot soldier. So in other words, they would only be recruited in case of dire need. Such as, say, the Telulu army, the army of the Telulu might have been overwhelmed and defeated. They might have be dealing with a massive invasion, so hey, we gotta call on the Combrogi to come and help us. So yeah, these guys were outfitted pretty much with light equipment, to no equipment at all. In fact, during the winter and sometimes even in the summer months, they would also wear woolen tunics to prevent certain cuts and blows. However, a thrust from a weapon like this could probably pierce it, so that probably was what caused them to be less used on the battlefield. But the Combrogi would be only of one Levy style unit compared to their other counterparts, the archery unit, which we will get to very soon in another video. But anyways, guys, like and subscribe for more. If y'all have a video y'all want me to do, or like a certain warrior group from history, please let me know in the comments below. As well, guys, like and subscribe for more. And as well, hope to see y'all in the next one. Have a great day, y'all.